Ever wonder how small startups suddenly cross the chasm? You know, that massive, seemingly impossible gap between those early niche adopters and the explosive mainstream market? Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dive into a highly counterintuitive strategy for making that leap. If you've ever found yourself wondering how these underdog companies suddenly become absolute industry giants overnight, well, this right here is the blueprint. We're exploring the foundational canonical concepts from Jeffrey A. Moore's absolute classic guide on marketing and selling high-tech products, famously titled Crossing the Chasm. The ideas in this book completely transformed how companies think about growth. It essentially shifts the focus away from just trying to have the best technology and moves it toward mastering the actual psychology of market adoption. It's literally the ultimate business cliffhanger. Think about it. You've achieved some great initial success. You've got visionary early adopters who just absolutely love what you do. So why is it that jumping into the mainstream market is exactly where most startups completely lose their footing and fall into the abyss? Why is that specific transition so incredibly dangerous? Well, the answer lies in how mainstream, pragmatist buyers make their decisions. Simply put, they just don't buy the way visionaries do. So here is our roadmap for today. We'll be covering 1. The D-Day analogy. 2. Choosing a single niche. And 3. Applying the Goldilocks rule. Then we'll document 4. The before day in the life. 5. The after day in the life. And wrap up with 6. Dominating the mainstream. Let's get right into it. Okay, Section 1. The D-Day analogy. Entering the mainstream market. Making that entrance isn't just some casual stroll. It's a highly calculated tactical operation. And this quote brilliantly illustrates the core strategy. We're talking about essentially replicating the 1944 Allied invasion of Normandy. You don't try to conquer the entire continent on day one, right? Instead, you focus an absolute overabundance of support, resources, and marketing into one tightly confined market niche. You win that specific beachhead first, you force your competitors out, and then, and only then, do you use it as a base for broader operations. You've basically got two ways companies try to grow. First, there's the Evel Knievel approach. This means attacking on all fronts at once and taking a blind, massive leap right over the chasm. Unless you're already a massive, intimidating giant, this is pretty much a fast track to failure. On the flip side, you have the highly disciplined D-Day approach. This demands dominating one specific niche, digging in and holding your ground no matter what. Moving right along to Section 2, choosing a single niche, focusing on the beachhead. Here is the absolute crucial point. If you chase the immense opportunity of the mainstream market right out of the gate, you're going to lose your focus. You'll end up chasing every shiny object and opportunity that pops up, and as a result, you fail to deliver a truly compelling, complete product to any one specific pragmatist buyer. The D-Day strategy is what keeps everyone in your company entirely on point. Because look, if we don't secure our niche, our Normandy, we don't ever have to worry about how we're going to take Paris, because we simply won't survive. All right, Section 3, applying the Goldilocks rule, sizing your target market. Founders almost always think bigger is better, don't they? A massive addressable market just seems highly attractive on a pitch deck. But if your company's overall revenue target for the next year is, say, $10 million, your target segment should absolutely not be massive. And here is exactly why. To become the de facto standard that mainstream pragmatists actually trust, you need to win at least 50% of new orders. Pragmatists buy from established market leaders. So if your goal is to get $5 million from a new segment, the entire pond you are fishing in cannot be larger than $10 million total. It's just simple math. So the rule of thumb, pick on somebody your own size. This means you have to carefully sub-segment the market until you find a niche small enough for you to completely dominate. You have to respect those word-of-mouth boundaries. The entire goal is to become a really big fish in a very small pond, not some tiny fish flopping around trying to straddle the whole ocean. You need to pick a market segment that perfectly matches your current size and your capacity to dominate. Which brings us to Section 4, the before day in the life, identifying frustration. To find that perfect niche, we use a really precise 5-step framework to document a target customer's before scenario. What we're trying to do here is pinpoint a specific moment of intense frustration where the user is just completely stuck without your product. And honestly, more importantly, where that frustration has real, measurable, painful economic consequences for the buyer. So for example, let's meet Ernie. Ernie is an aircraft mechanic. Picture this, he's dealing with a broken Shrevestat on a fully boarded plane. The desired outcome is pretty obvious, right? Fix it and get that plane in the air. But his attempted approach involves frantically digging through massive, dusty manuals he's never even used for the specific part. The interfering factor? He just can't figure it out in time. And the economic consequence is disastrous. The flight gets canceled, resulting in massive overtime, furious stranded customers, and a massive financial hit for the airline. This is what we call a mission-critical, broken process.
Now let's look at the flip side. Section 5, the after day in the life, providing a new solution.
Let's completely replay that exact situation. The after scenario is actually much simpler and establishes what Moore calls a compelling reason to buy. It only needs 3 steps: detailing the new approach the customer takes, the specific enabling factors of your product that unstick the user, and the resulting economic rewards that make buying your product an absolute no-brainer. Replaying Ernie's day, his new approach is pulling out a specialized, hyperlinked ebook. The enabling factor here is that he searches, finds automatically updated revisions, and taps into a knowledge base of actual mechanics experiences. Boom. He spots the problem instantly. The economic reward? The flight is saved, the plane actually departs on time, and the airline saves thousands of dollars. By fixing this highly specific, mission-critical, broken process for this exact user, you've just secured your beachhead. Finally, Section 6, dominating the mainstream, the post-beachhead world. So, once you've secured that initial position, what is the next step to conquer the rest of the market? Well, counterintuitively, creating the competition is the single most important marketing decision you are going to make. Coming from the early market, startups love to proudly declare to everyone that they have no competition. But remember, mainstream pragmatists are loath to buy until they can compare options. So you actually have to go out and locate your product within a familiar buying category. You're literally choosing which existing budget you intend to poach. This gives the pragmatist a mental reference point, so they actually feel safe making the choice to go with you. And here is the truly beautiful payoff of the D-Day strategy. Once those pragmatists install you as the market leader in their niche, they will actually conspire to keep you there. They like to be owned. And not in the sense of losing their freedom, but in the sense of a vendor taking ongoing, reliable responsibility for their success. This creates massive, almost impenetrable barriers to entry for your competitors and turns an unpredictable, chaotic startup into a highly stable, annuity-like business. I want to leave you with a real strategic mandate to apply to your own business right now. Look past that massive mainstream ocean for just a minute. Instead, ask yourself, what is the exact size of your target market niche? Are you really picking on somebody your own size? Find your beachhead, dominate it entirely, and watch the rest of the chasm shrink beneath your feet. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.